I believe in setting very aggressive goals because I think that that's what moves the needle. That's what inspires people to take massive action. If the goals aren't big enough, it's not going to inspire massive actions.
Hello everyone, Happy New Year and welcome to another episode of Becoming Consciousness with Sharika. My name is Sharika Swedi. I am a certified life coach. I do mentoring, speaking and podcasting, and I'm also a published author. I specialize in mental wellness and spiritual alignment. So if you are in need of any of that, I'm your girl. Alright, so my guest today is no stranger to this show. This is actually his third time being on my show. He's a Silicon Valley speaker, mentor, and financial coach. He specializes in investment, insurance, and mortgages. And he's been doing this for over 14 years, right? When we last spoke, that was last year, round about this time, he shared with us some goals that he had, and he also shared with us some strategies that he was going to use to get to those goals, to make them happen. So today, we're here to find out what happened since then. Has he been able to come through using his methods and accomplish his goals? So Josh Payne, thank you for being here with me today. It's a pleasure to have you again.
Absolutely. It's an honor to be here and excited to be on with you again, Sharika, here in this time of the year where really is about sort of the possibilities of what will exist in 2023, looking back on 2022, taking note of the year and all the great things that happen, all the things that we can tweak and make better. It's really one of my favorite times of the year.
Okay, that sounds like we're in for a treat. So I like where we're going so far. Okay, so to begin, some of the people that are on here or who may see this probably may not have seen the previous episode, right? So when we were on last, you spoke about setting goals, but you didn't just talk about setting goals. You spoke about setting value-based goals. So could you give us a quick recap of what that is and what your strategy is, and then we're going to dive into what you did in 2022 and where that has brought you.
Yeah. So, I've been an avid goal setter for 15 years being in business. Before that, as an athlete. So it's something that is ingrained in me. Really, in human beings, we are goal-striving mechanisms by design, right? And so to not strive for goals is really sort of going against the grain of how our DNA is built. And what I've done in business is really kind of tweaked and come up with a process that we've practiced for 15 years, that we teach and train on a quarterly basis, because I'm a big believer of setting the overall annual goals of what we're going to accomplish this year, but then breaking it down into smaller parts. And I think that anybody can stay focused for a 90-day period, right? And as we break it down quarterly, and then from quarterly, we're able to break it down monthly, and from monthly, somebody can take it, break it down weekly, daily, etc. I really don't, my mind doesn't work on that small of a micro unit of time. I think for me, monthly and quarterly are really the sweet spots of how my brain likes to focus on it. But I really look at 4 areas of life. And when we set goals, a couple of things are important. I like to focus on the 4 areas of personal, family, spiritual, and business for me because I'm in business. Maybe that's different for somebody else. So looking at all four of those areas, I don't think you can be good in one area and not in another area of life, right? You can't be a leader in business and the motivator and go home and kick the dog, right? There's no alignment there. So I think that's very important. And I look at those four areas. And the other stickler I am as it relates to goals is I really don't believe we can really focus on anything more than one particular aspect in any of those given four areas at one time. And so the process I take people through, I take our agents through is we break it down in those four areas. I have them look at their top two goals in those four areas, and then we pick one for the quarter. One to focus on for that quarter. Great to see you, buddy Roosevelt. Great to see you, man. We take and we focus on that one in the quarter. And then we develop 2 affirmations for each of those goals to support those goals. Now, there's a process of once I identify what those 2 goals are, I take sort of them through a 7-step process in terms of really creating the goal, right? And so we give it a deadline, and then once we have a deadline, we look at first of all, you write it in the present tense, right? You write it in the present tense or in the process of. We give it a timeline. Then we look at possible challenges that we would need to overcome. We look at skills that would need to be developed to accomplish that goal. We look at possible relationships we'd need to create in order to accomplish that goal. Then we create the plan of action of achievement of the goal and then why we want to achieve that goal. Now, I learned that from a good mentor of mine who, again, were very congruent in our goal setting process. So once we identify that goal, we take it through that 7-step process of really identified, okay, this is how we're going to accomplish the goal. These are the relationships we need. These are the possible challenges. These are the skills that we need to develop to accomplish a goal. And it really just sort of takes it from just that, surface level goal and then really looks at it and goes, okay, now we've got a plan to achieve it. Okay, so in each of those 4 areas, once we select the goal that we're going to focus on that quarter, we take it through that 7-step process. Once we created that 7-step process, now I know how I'm going to go about achieving the goal. And then we create 2 affirmations as support of each goal in those 4 sections: family, business, spiritual, personal. Okay, so I've got 4 goals, 1 in each of those areas that I'm focused on in the quarter. I've written 2 affirmations to support each goal. Now we take it the step further, which is we write those goals and affirmations every morning, every night. Every morning, every night, right? So it is a process that not only do we teach, but we've practiced for the last 15 years. Again, looking at the 4 areas: personal, business, spiritual, and family, okay? Making sure we've got a holistic approach to our life. We narrow it down to 1 goal in each of those 4 sections for the quarter. We create the plan through the 7 steps, and then we create 2 affirmations that are going to support the goal. And what we write on a daily basis is the goal and the 2 affirmations. The goal in each section and the 2 affirmations to support it. We write them every morning and every night. Every morning and every night. And that really is the process of how we go about goal setting.
Okay, great. Right. Now, I remember a lot of this from our last talk because a lot of these are things that I also practice myself. Why is it important for us to consider our values when we are setting these goals? I want you to highlight that for us.
Yeah, so look, we can't operate in life in a manner that's not congruent with our values. So what does that mean? If being a person of integrity is important to me, then I can't live in a state with which accomplishing goals would not be congruent with my integrity. And that could be in any given way. It's a pretty simple example, right? So, in a way of stealing or cheating or not doing things in the best interest of service to others, that would not be operating in a state of integrity and would not be congruent to who I am as a person. So that's very important. Now, I think that's, for most people, that's a normal process, right? Because we're not going to, if we're setting goals and we're outlining these things, we're going through this process, likely we're going to take the values that are unique to us, right? And we're going to create our plan based on those values. Maybe, being a great father or a great parent would be of high value. Well, then my goals should reflect things that would represent a great father, right? Maybe that's, working on the relationship with the kids, or maybe it's being present for some people, or, all sorts of different areas that could encompass, but it would be based on the value I set forth, those values I've set forth in being a father. Maybe it's based on a relationship with my spouse, right? So my wife and I have been married for going on, almost 20 years. And so there's values we have in our relationship, and I'm going to set goals that are in alignment with those values, that are going to enhance those values and are going to make sure that they're not in conflict with those values as well, right? So I'm not going to set goals that would cause me to jeopardize the values I have for my relationship with my wife. And so I think it's a very natural part of goal setting. And for most people that are going through that process, I think that probably their values are going to be aligned, because if they weren't, they probably wouldn't tend to be the ones that are going through a goal setting process.
Usually when we set goals that are not in line with who we are, we end up in a chaotic situation. Yeah. So now, where has your goals and your process, when we met 2022, you said that you wanted to reach all 56 states within 2 years, I think it was. So that process that you outlined earlier, has that process been effective for you? And where are you now with your goals that you had set last year?
Sure. So we've got a big goal of starting 2022. We had a vision of all 48 continental U.S. states in the next 2 years. Right now, we're in 19 states that we have licensed representatives in. And here's the thing about goals for an achiever. I believe in setting very aggressive goals, because I think that that's what moves the needle. That's what inspires people to take massive action. If the goals aren't big enough, it's not going to inspire massive action. So being aggressive in goal setting is important. But then understanding that the reality is I rarely hit goals in the time frame I set them, because they're aggressive. But that's what moves the needle for me. And I realize that, hey, I didn't hit it during this time frame, but I'm still going to hit it, and I just adjust the goal line, right? The time frame. I'm not going to adjust the goals smaller, because if we adjust those goals smaller, they're not moving the needle at that point. I want to challenge myself to get out there and hit the goals and be a driver of that. But understanding that if I were to look back in my career as an athlete and now in business for 15 years, I've hit every goal that I've set. But I would almost guarantee that that I didn't hit them in the time frame I set them. But I always hit them, because it kept the focus and I stayed focused on the end result. I just adjusted the goal line a little bit and hit that. Now, obviously, we're talking about sort of the big major goals that we set forth in our life. So we're on track to being in all 48 states. Is it going to happen in the next 12 months? I believe it is. That's what we're focused on. That's what we're working towards. We got a lot of work to do, but heck, that's what stirs the pot, moves the needle, and creates the urgency in our life to wake up every day and get after it, right? And make it happen.
Yeah, that is definitely true. I must concur. I also set some major goals, big goals that were probably not achievable within the timeline that I set them out to be, but that gave me the push, as you said. And it is this, there's this statement that is famously said, we tend to overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can do in 5 years. And I think with the consistency of you getting up every day and doing going according to the plan, it eventually unfolds and becomes a reality for you. I see it in my life every day, and when I just started out, I set a goal of reaching 100,000 people, right? But I was not someone who was out there on social media. I didn't have a following before that. Nobody knew about me. I was literally just coming out of the dust. So that was kind of a forward goal, seeing that I didn't have that audience before. I didn't have any traction before, but I didn't allow it to stop me from pushing forward. So now this is a year later. Yeah, pretty much a year later, I'm pretty sure I achieved that goal and the one that I had set for the following year. Mama sure I did that because even this morning I was on our national TV program. So I know that a good amount of people would have seen me. So I know that I accomplished that goal, but it took long for me to get from that point to that point, but I never gave up. So you're definitely correct. So how, in terms of the incremental goals that you had set, not the major one, but the incremental goals that you had set, have those been coming to physicality? Reality?
Yeah, great question. So, a lot of that is based on growth in business. It's probably the most appropriate to speak to in this capacity. And then, obviously in the 4 areas, family, personal. And so if I kind of look across those, right, our business grew in some areas more than other areas, right? In some of the important areas, it grew triple-digit growth, and that's great. That tells me immediate feedback that we're moving in the right direction. Now, in the other areas that didn't have the growth that we wanted, we've now, okay, what are the adjustments we have to make there to have the same kind of growth we had in the areas where it grew at triple-digit growth? I mean, 126% growth, that's big growth. And I know that we can do that in more areas at once. And that's really the expectation here in 2023 is, okay, here's what 2022 looked like. And the incremental growth we talked about, we did great. We grew quarter over quarter in the size of certain areas of our business, but we didn't in others. And so ultimately, everybody wants to grow like that in every area of their business. So what do we have to do in the other areas? We've gotten certain systems and cultures built in one area that we're excited about, but they didn't happen in other areas. And we're not excited about that, but we're excited about the fact we're going to get it done in 2023 and that we already have this side set. And when we get the triple-digit growth over here, this growth we had in the areas where we've got the systems in place and the culture built is going to absolutely erupt. And that's ultimately how we're going to expand to that major goal of all 48 states, right? So that's exciting, right? And if I look at say personal, and I look at the relationship with my children and how important that is. And so, some of the things that I implemented over the last year to enhance that relationship as a father. Some of the sports training, the one-on-one training I'm doing with my children now. I don't coach them in their teams, even though I was Division I college coach and very decorated past in a coaching capacity. I want them to be coached by others in a team environment. And what I do is I take and I've implemented sort of schedules, if you will. I wouldn't necessarily call them systems, but schedules where I work with them on a one-on-one skills basis. And that then enables me to build that relationship with them while still getting them that world-class coaching that they need to excel at their various sports that they're doing, to grow in those areas, because we're always pushing them up to the next level, right? We're raising the bar. We're always raising the bar for them. And so they've got to continue to grow, and really spending the time and helping develop that. Man, that's been so much fun. I look at things that I relationship with my spouse, my wife, and the steps I've taken, and she'll probably tell you I got a lot of improvement to go still, but just the growth in making sure that we're flourishing in our relationship outside of, because we've been in business for 15 years together, outside of business, outside of being parents, but in our personal relationship. I think it's tragic when I see a marriage that's solely based on the relationship with the children, and they lose touch with the relationship with themselves. And so fostering that, and I've always got room to grow there. I think we all do, right? We're always raising the bar and wanting to get better. Other areas personally, right? So if I look at, for myself personally, I'm an athlete, so I train 6 days a week. Am I happy with the growth I experienced in my physical health over the last year? There are some areas I got to get better. I gotta fine tune my diet a little bit more to get in the tip top shape I want to be in as a at my age. And I always tell all the guys, because I train a lot of younger millennials and stuff. I tell them, I'll run circles around you. You better pack your lunch, right? And so. But again, the purpose, I'm so dedicated to that because my self-image is that of an athlete and operating. It's that of a world-class entrepreneur. It's that of a great family man, of having a great marriage. So therefore, my actions are congruent with that, or are in the process of growing to be at that level, because that's where I see my self-image. That's my identity, right? And it enables me to continue to grow there in that relationship, in my diet, and tweaking that, and with all the other systems and habits I have in place that contribute to being successful and taking care of myself physically, right? So again, you can see it's a holistic process, always in the process of getting better in every area. We can certainly, here's the thing, Sharika, we've got to look at what we do well, and we've got to honor that, and we've got to honor the improvements, because if most people, you say, what are the areas you need to improve in? Man, the list is long, because achievers are so hard on themselves. And that's important, because that's what keeps us moving forward, but also to honor the things that we did accomplish, right? What were the wins you had in 2022? What are the things that you did well? And when I ask people that, because I take our team through an annual goal setting process, the two toughest things people have to do is to identify what they want and to identify their successes or their achievements from the year before, their accomplishments. Isn't that interesting? We can put
Why do you think that people have such a hard time identifying what they want?
It's the number one thing. I've been in business the amount of time I have working with people in helping them move from from a traditional job rat race into entrepreneurship, so much of that is going to be driven on the dream of what they want. And for most people, it's the first time they've ever thought about it. It's crazy. It's crazy. You know, I have people go through an exercise. Write out your top 100 goals and dreams. If time and money were no issue, you know what happens? Boom, they get 1, 2, 10, 12, 13. And all of a sudden, they can't think of anything else, right?
Amazing.
And so it's a challenging process. Why? Because we're never taught to open the blinders and think unlimited about what we want in life, right? I do it. I've got a running list. I keep it on my iPad. Anytime I think of something new, I add it to the list. And then watch this, about once or twice a year, I go back and I look through, and I'll be darned if every time I'm crossing one or two things off that we've accomplished without even knowing it. But again, that process puts it into the subconscious mind because we're thinking about it. We're thinking about what we're focused on, what we want. We're focused on where we're headed. And inevitably, you start checking these things off, right? And it's amazing. But so I challenge anybody that's listening to this, put a list of your top 100 goals and then just keep that as a running list. Keep adding to it. The reason I have it on my iPad, Sharika, is because I've always got my iPad with me. And I don't have to find my gold notebook or this or that. It's always with me. I go right to the folder and I add something down. Maybe I'm driving down the road and I go, something strikes my mind. I go, oh, that would be awesome. You know what I do? I grab my phone. I send myself a voice text. So it shows up as a inbox text from myself. And then when I get to my destination, I pull out my iPad and I add it to my top 100 goals. I never let that stuff slip because I want it. If I think it's cool, and you go, how are you ever going to do that, right? How are you ever going to, I don't know. We live in an area where we have private jets that fly over us all the time. I go, oh, that was a cool jet right there. I'm going to look that thing up. I take a picture in my mind and I go find it, right? But I might text myself, find out that private jet, whatever it might be, right? It doesn't matter. Time and money are no issue. Take the blinders off. Allow yourself to dream because we have to know what we want to move forward. And that's the number one thing that holds people back is they don't know what they want.
I agree with you 100%. 100%. Because I years ago, I didn't have a list. Like, as a young person, I was always going to these workshops, right? We have different youth organizations in Jamaica. And I've always find myself at some kind of workshop that they're doing something. And the speaker or the trainer would always have these handouts, and it would have goals, and it would have 5-year goals and 1-year goals and 6 months goals. And we would get this thing, and it would say, write your 5-year goals down. And we would do that. But guess what was missing? The process.
Right.
We just had the goals, but we didn't have the process. And so when I come home with that paper, I'd look at it for a few days, and after those few days, it gets put down and end up at the bottom of something somewhere because I don't know what to do with it. But since I started on this journey and I've written my list and I've been doing things, I also have been checking things off. So if the process works, writing it down works, following the process, that also works. As an entrepreneur, it takes guts to be an entrepreneur. It takes faith. You have to have the mindset and the will and the strength to keep going. You are in an area of finance that can be rather challenging. what are some of the challenges that you have to overcome on a daily basis just to ensure that you don't go under?
Yeah, I mean, look, as an achiever, achievers are typically the most insecure people there are. That's why they're achievers, right? I mean, it's that whether you call it fear of failing or whatever that sparks and drives people to be successful. So, what are challenges? The perspective or the possibility, the perspective of not being the role model in my children's lives, not providing that incredible example for them to follow, not being the greatest husband to my wife and having her wish that she had found somebody else. I mean, these are things, right? Challenges that an achiever would think about. That's why it drives us to be great at what we do. From a business perspective, look, I don't care what business somebody's in, there's always another mountain to climb. You're always staring at somebody's butt. And so the biggest challenges for me are to compete with being the best version of myself every day and not compare myself to where somebody else is at. And that's not an easy thing to do. But to compare myself to somebody else is to say, this has been an example that's used throughout training. And it's like, why would I compare my chapter 3 to somebody else's chapter 20? Right. And that's very important for achievers to bear in mind, is that, look, I can't compare myself and where I'm at today to somebody else. Look, we can get started in the same business at the same time, but we've been preparing for that differently over the last 10 years. Somebody else's preparation in that may have put them in a position where they're perfectly positioned to get started and have fast success because of the preparation they did before they got into business. Whereas I got started and my prior preparation wasn't that way. And so I had to catch up, but my story's different than theirs. So I've got to worry about being the best version of myself every day, getting 1% better every day. And if I can get 1% better every day, at the end of the year, I'm 365% better than when I started, or 37 times the person that I was at the beginning of the year. Now, I think anybody would take that today to say, December 31st, 2023, would you take being 37 times the person you are right now at the end of the year? Everybody say, absolutely. What do you have to do to get that done? Oh my God, I don't know how I would become 37. It's 1% a day. Getting better 1% a day. Being a better person today than I was yesterday. So when we look at challenges that come up, those are the types of things. But here's the reality of it. You take away the challenges, you take away the adversity, you take away the victory. See, it's really not the destination, but the person we become in the process. That's most important. And that ends up accomplishing the goals that we set. So all those things we talk about in terms of challenges and the struggles and the insecurities, that's all what makes it possible to achieve the goal at the end, is the person we become in the process and the lives that we serve as a result.
That is true. I love that. It's definitely the person that you become, because in order for you to get to the goal, you have to transform yourself. You're not going to get there as the person that you are, where you are. You have to make progress as an individual. You have to improve to get to the goal that you want to get to. So definitely. So for 2023, Josh, I know that the plan has not changed. You still have your eyes set on 48 states, right? Are you planning to tweak the goal, the process any at all? And are you adding anything new to the goals that you've set?
Yeah, I mean, look, the overall arching goal stays the same. Now, when we break down the process, what's going to get us there? What are the steps that we need to take this year to perhaps progress faster? Those are the adjustments on an annual basis, right? And our business is really quite simple and really comes down to a couple of really key indicators, and the number one indicator in that is look, how many licensed agents do we have? If we want to serve more people, we want to break more records, we got to have more licensed agents. So everything breaks down to that. So it makes our business very easy in the sense of measurement. Show me how many licensed agents you have. I'll show you what the end result is going to be. So that being said, keeping the main thing, and the biggest challenge perhaps in any business for a leader is to block out the noise, block out the things that are going to distract you from the end result that you are headed to, because there's always the shiny object syndrome, right, where you can do it better and faster this way, but is that at the core of your philosophy of what it takes to get to where you're going? And so if I'm centered in what I know and how I know growth needs to happen, then it's just a matter of, okay, what are the areas within that we can get better at to accomplish the end result that we've set forth for ourselves? How can we get better at the things that we know are going to produce the results, the best results possible? And then tighten up those areas, get better, keep growing. And then at the end of the day, if a business wants to grow, they just need more possibilities or more prospects on the front end. And so how can we get more into the funnel on the front end? And then know that from there, the rest of it's going to take care of itself.
Oh, by the way, I must say congratulations on that. I think it was 125% you said?
Yes.
That's amazing. That's massive growth.
Yeah, big growth. Big growth. But we need that percentage based on higher numbers as well, right? So I think percentage growth sometimes can be misleading, because if it's 126% growth on one, well, that's a lot different than 126% growth on 100, right? And so keeping that in perspective as well and saying, okay, we have this culture of growth in the number of licensed representatives we have in our particular industry, say, and we're looking to grow that at that same rate and more. But how do we grow the actual output? We have to have more people on the front end, right, to continue to allow that 126% growth to produce higher results, right? So that's important as well, right? Is to understand percentage growth is based on what? And so if we can have it based on a bigger number, then it has better production on the backside.
How do you feel as the one of the bosses who shares the load? How do you feel about your accomplishments overall in all your areas? How do you feel about your accomplishments for 2022? And how do you feel about going forward into 2023?
Sharika, I'm never satisfied. I'm probably the worst person in the world to ask that question, because my butt's always burning. I'm never, and the reality is I never hit a goal and celebrate, because I've already raised the bar to the next level, right? So we never wait to celebrate. Hey, we hit this goal and now let's set. No, it's already moved up. It's as soon as we're on track, it's moved. And now that being said, we have figured out ways to celebrate the wins, to allow that to re-energize the next push towards the next goal. I'm just very competitive with myself. That's why I was successful as an athlete, right? Is I was competitive, I was driven, and driven people by nature aren't satisfied. We're grateful. I'm entirely grateful, and I feel blessed, and I see it in certain areas of our life, but I'm never satisfied. So I call it, actually, I heard this from a mentor of mine, blissful discontent. I'm blissfully discontent, right? In the sense that I'm happy, I'm grateful, but daggone it, there's more. If there's more to achieve, then I'm not satisfied where we're at. And so, to take it back to your original question, we just are continuously pushing the bar forward and wanting it to go faster, wanting it to be bigger, never satisfied with where we're at, realizing when we got to make adjustments, and just trying to be the best ambassador we can for others to see that they can have success as well if they do the right things.
That part is always important. Do you have a mantra going forward into 2022?
Yeah, it is. I would say this. I've identified 2 words that I am working on daily. So when I go through my goal setting process, my affirmations are I developed affirmations in addition to the goals based on these 2 words. And one word, I write those affirmations in the morning. The other word, I write the affirmations in the evening. One word is gratitude. I want to live a life of increased gratitude. And I work on that every day. The second word is identity. I am focused on elevating my identity, my self-identity, to newer and stretched levels. Remember, there's always another level. And while my self-image and my identity is strong, very strong, that's why we can drive to achieve the goals we want. I know for us to get to where we want to go, I have to stretch that to the next level. So my mantras, if you will, to tie that to the question, in this particular area of our life, we really have our mantras set to a life of gratitude and to elevated self-identity. Because if I elevate my identity, I can elevate my activity, my actions, naturally elevate consistently to the level with which I see my self-identity. If my self-identity is that of out of shape, unhealthy person, my actions are going to be that of an out of shape, unhealthy person. If my identity is that of a professional athlete, my actions personally around my health are going to be that of a professional athlete. If my identity is that of a $50,000 a year employee, which there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying if that's what my identity is, my actions are going to be congruent to a $50,000 a year employee. But if my identity is that of a 7-figure a year world-class entrepreneur, 8-figure a year world-class entrepreneur, guess what? My actions are going to be congruent with that 7 or 8-figure a year entrepreneur.
Yeah.
World-class entrepreneur, right? So those 2 words are, I think, probably best reflective of the question of what's your mantra. My mantra is based around gratitude and identity.
Yeah. It's funny you said gratitude because first chapter of my book is about gratitude. And it's not just something that you read about gratitude, it's something that you practice. I put a practice in there about gratitude. And then after I published the book and I did some research for some presentations I was doing, I found even more reasons why we should practice gratitude. But then I signed up for a course called The Science of Well-Being. And would you believe that gratitude was the first chapter of the course? Week 1 was gratitude. And the science is there to back it up. If you want to be successful, learn how to practice gratitude. And when I say that, I don't just mean say thank you. I mean sit with the gratitude, savor the gratitude, feel it, get involved with it, become the gratitude, and then really start to understand and experience the true meaning of gratitude. So we are about to wrap up, Josh. And I know you are a man in leadership, and you're a man in power, you're a man of power, and you're a go-getter. If you could say something to people who are seeing this now, and to those who are going to see it later, as it relates to goal setting, as it relates to your values, as it relates to 2023, and whether you're going to give up or you're going to keep going, what would you say to those who are listening?
I am going to say something that had such a profound effect on me, a profound effect on my understanding of why few people succeed and most people don't when it comes to setting goals, accomplishing things that they want in life, and growing into the person that they want to become and the life that they want to have. I think James Clear in his book Atomic Habits does such an amazing job of outlining this, what I'm about to talk about, in one section. You could take that one section of that book was worth every page I read in it. And it's a great book, but this one section is everything. And I'm going to use it in a relationship of comparing it to the gym. Because we're in a period of time right now, in January, where everybody wants to, 2023 is going to be the year they get in shape and they go buy a gym membership, and you walk into the gym and they're wearing their Under Armour shorts, their Under Armour shirt, their Under Armour hat, their Under Armour socks, their Under Armour shoes, and they probably got Under Armour underwear on, right? And it's all matching, right? And you can't get on a machine, you can't get on a piece of equipment. Now, I've trained for 20 plus years. And I'm amazed at why, or I was amazed, now I understand why, but I was amazed at why come February 1st, you could shoot a cannon through the gym and not hit anybody. And then I read, mind you, the third time I read the book, it hit me like a ton of bricks. This small section, and this is what I want to leave everybody with. There are 3 types of goals that you can set for yourself. And I want you to think in terms of a bullseye. The outer layer goals, those are the outcome-based goals. And you got to have them. Maybe that's going to be a target weight for somebody. I want to get down to X amount of pounds. And then that inner layer ring, those are action-based goals. I'm going to go to the gym 3 days a week. I'm going to walk X amount of steps per day, whatever that is. Now, both of those are very important. Both of those are vital, absolutely vital. You got to know what you want. You got to know the activity to get it. But the question always came up to me, Sharika, why do people start in January and by February they quit? And what I learned is that the motivation wears off. But why does it not wear off for some? Majority quit because the motivation wears off. So why do they quit and others continue? And it's just a way of life for them. And that's because they've missed the bullseye and they've started their goal setting process in the wrong direction versus starting it from the bullseye. And the bullseye comes back to the word I was talking to you about, which is identity. See, we can set the target weight. I want to be, whatever it might be, 185 pounds for a guy, right? Great shape, whatever it might be. But they've never adjusted the identity to see themselves as the person that would operate in a way to accomplish that goal. And until we raise the identity or the self-image, Dr. Maxwell Maltz wrote an entire book called Psycho-Cybernetics on this exact topic of self-image, right? Until we elevate the self-image or the identity to where I see myself as that type of person, sustained habits and change will not last. And as soon as the motivation wears off, the activity will stop. And that is why most people don't, in my opinion, have success in hitting their goals, is they never address the identity. So if you can start there, who is the person I want to identify with? I want to identify with a athletic person that is this type of person. That's who I identify. I've elevated my self-image. Now I may need to do the work on that. I may need to reinforce it and affirm it, right? With repetition and affirmation for a period of time to elevate it. But if I'm not working on elevating that self-image, that's step one. I've got to elevate that self-image or it's not going to last. Then I can figure out what's the activity and the outcome-based goals that I want, because I've got the self-image first, the self-identity first. Now I can have sustained change with the activity and the outcome-based goals that I want to hit, because I've elevated who I believe I am inside first. And now I'll do what it takes to achieve those goals.
All right, people, you heard it here. Elevate your identity, elevate your self-image, and that simply means change the way you think and feel about yourself. Set a higher standard. Look at the top or where you'd like to be. See somebody who you'd like to be like. Not that you're gonna copy that person's traits, but you are going to say, okay, this person is doing this, and I would really love to be doing something similar. What did they do? Who are they? What kind of person are they? How do I accomplish this? Then set your heights there and start working on you. Yes, start working on the goal too, but I promise you, if you start working on you first, when you start working on that goal, you won't need motivation. It will just happen, because now you are the person, and you will transform through the process. But now you are the person that can reach for the goal. You see yourself getting there already before even beginning. So when somebody come and they say to you, who do you think you are? You say, oh, you can talk, right? I know exactly who I am, and I know exactly where I am going. And that's what you need in order to stay in the gym past January 31st.
Right.
That's what you need to stay in the gym past January 31st. Thank you so much, Josh, for being here with me again in another January, in another year.
You're most welcome.
You're welcome. Well, you said I'm welcome. I wish you I wish you nothing but success on those goals. And I know that the track record of goals, and what I have come to learn about goals, is that when you set the goal and you are persistent in the pursuit of the goal, it can't help but come to you. It's gonna happen. It has to happen once you keep going forward. So I wish you all the success in your goals as I wish for myself and everyone who is watching or listening to this video today. Thank you for joining me here. I saw a couple of people who usually join me every week. I am here. I aim to be here every week. Sometimes my guests have other issues and they're not able to make it. So I'm not able to make it, right? But I aim to be here every Thursday with an amazing story, a story for fulfillment, upliftment, and development. So if you want to see anything like that, follow me if you're not following me yet. And if you want to be constantly motivated by the man who is never satisfied, give Josh a follow. I'm Sharika Swaby once more, and this has been Becoming Consistent with Sharika, where spirits goes to find their souls. Have a beautiful new year and Thursday and rest of the week. Goodbye.
You're a blessing. You are a blessing to many. Thank you so much.